Radio Network headquarters.
For you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline.
It's your morning addiction.
Tish James has refused to prosecute anti-Semitic hate crimes.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell. The Zimmer News Team.
We added Election Integrity to Save America Act with some funding for troops and farmers.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
There was nothing junior or childlike about this type of conduct. This was an upper-level trafficking organization for this region in Pennsylvania.
Officials say the group, led by former students Agostino Abatiello and Thomas Robinson, brought in kilos of cocaine at a time in 2023 and 2024, the pair making trips to Philadelphia and New York City to refill their supplies.
The evidence showed that cocaine was primarily packaged at the fraternity houses and that packaging was done by fraternity brothers and oftentimes pledges.
Whoa! Is that really? Did that really happen? We'll ask Jennifer Bukowski, who may or may not have been in a sorority. We'll don't know. We'll ask Drake Whitman, who may or may not have been in a fraternity. We'll ask John Marsh, who may or may not have been in a fraternity. Were any of you ever indoctrinated or hazed by cutting and packaging cocaine? Jennifer Bukowski, in for Stephanie.
I was not.
You were not. Well, what kind of a lame sorority were you in anyway?
Mine was weak.
Think of all the, you guys could have all been driving Rolls Royces and buying tickets on the 50-yard line to the college football game. You went to Mizzou, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, John, were you cutting cocaine?
No, okay. But there were some gardening projects going on inside the house.
Okay, I think the statute of limitations has run out on that. Drake Whitman, were you cutting and packaging cocaine as part of your hazing?
Can't say that I've ever packed cocaine, nor was I in a fraternity. But you know what's crazy about this? I didn't know the time frame of this. We would have played Penn State if things shook out just a tad bit differently back in 2023.
That's true.
In our bowl game.
Well Pablo Plejkobar was the nickname for the one kingpin of the scheme, alleged kingpin. He turned himself in, and he was denied bail. Pablo Plejkobar from Penn State.
Pretty good.
Plejkobar. and then his accomplice. Now, in case you're just joining us, welcome into Wake Up Missouri, and thank you for being with us. This was a big story yesterday, of course, as they have arrested several people involved in what was a high-level, highly involved cocaine ring, where they were buying
emphasis
stuff
on the high, right?
Yeah, bringing stuff out of New York City, and then bringing it to Penn State. And part of the hazing ritual was for the inductees, the newcomers, to be cutting the stuff up and packaging it, and then I guess they're distributing it. Now, can I figure it out? Can I figure it out? Well, let's ask the question. One of the accomplices, Dad, got in trouble. He was busted because he was helping the kid hide money and the goods in a safe, right? I mean, he was concealing evidence, I guess. And a prominent Pittsburgh lawyer, Jennifer.
That one stopped me. I was like, wow. That is a big no-no for lawyers to do that. That's going to get you potentially disbarred.
His son was among 14 people charged, his son Thomas Robinson and Pablo Plejkobar. Agostino Abatiello were actually, that's the guy's name. And they were involved in this thing. And the lawyer is charged with felony tampering, hindering apprehension, taking steps to conceal evidence in the case. Had a safe stuffed with cash and drugs. Now, this guy, how old do you think this guy is? 55 maybe? I don't know. What do you think? 55?
He looks about that.
Maybe. And so, what do you think? Do you think, so you're what goes through a person's mind? You're an attorney at a high-profile firm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I have no idea. Is it just greed? Your kids are involved with this. You're endangering your kids' freedom, education, safety by having them deal drugs and getting all of their friends in on it too. All their fraternity brothers.
I know.
What is wrong with you?
Maybe
is he facing money troubles? Is he having drug problems?
Supply?
Yeah, high on his own supply.
Oh,
there you go.
Who knows? But if you're that prominent, then you can probably afford your own drug habit and not risk your son and his friends and your own freedom and livelihood, because he could get disbarred for this.
Hot take. I actually don't think this is as bad as you guys are saying. I think this is okay. I mean, if you're gonna have coke in a college town, I'd rather it be done by the fraternities and not, souped up with fentanyl and made into crack and all this other stuff. I think that,
because they're much more trustworthy drug dealers. You don't think that they could do that too?
I think that college, fraternity guys, I don't think they have as much access to fent. Then again, I didn't think they had access to coke.
They have access to coke.
Well, how do you?
They're criminals too.
Are you relying on the original supplier or some upstream supplier to not cut it with fentanyl or something else? I mean, why would you have that?
I would say all the drug dealers in a certain given area are going to be dealing the same supply that comes in bulk.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't think.
Yeah, isn't that why, like, when there's one overdose, there's usually like a bunch in that area due to all that stuff? Like, whenever you put too much fentanyl in your drugs, you give it to all of your dealers and all of that, then you just have a bunch of fentanyl-laced coke all around. I don't know.
Can I ask a bigger question? Now, this comes from a kid who went to a commuter school, right? I went to UMSL, lived with mom and dad so I could save money for med school. My wife did the same with her parents, not for med school, but for help me through med school because we were probably going to get engaged at the time. We rode the bus, the bi-state bus, from the Venture parking lot in South County up to the college every day. It just was never on my bingo board to be thinking about anything but going to school and working. I went to school and I worked. Back in the day, that was sort of what a lot of us did up there. I mean, UMSL wasn't a small place then. It just seems as though the partying and the lifestyle and everything is what now is. Do a minority of people do that? I'm a different cat. I get
the
that.
coke part or the partying part?
Yes.
Partying is prevalent, and it always has been, but not cocaine use.
This Abatiello, what do you call him, Pablo Plejkobar?
One of them was called that.
He lives in a spacious single-family home valued at $1.4 million. I don't know.
Did you see the undercover cop who busted him? Told authorities he sold him batches of cocaine up to 1 kilogram for $22,000.
Wow.
At that one transaction.
Now, John, is this rivaling the worst thing that's happened at Penn State in the past couple of years? Are we getting there yet?
I think we danced around coaches in locker rooms a little bit yesterday, but no. I mean, it's, drug use in college, unfortunately, not that uncommon.
Yeah. Where's the parenting? that?
Well, apparently one of the parents is in on it, allegedly.
Yeah, well, he was the guy providing the safe and the drug money laundering.
Maybe this is an allegory of maybe parents need to rethink what they're doing and how they're
parents
schooling
stop
their children.
dealing drugs with your kids.
And in other news, for those of you who like to grow and listen to guys with long beards, ZZ Top drummer and founder Frank Beard is dead at age 77. He was even played on the tour even up until earlier this month. I think he played a concert, if I'm not mistaken. They were on a tour.
Saw him back in the day.
Transgender defendant who sought to kill Scott Bessent was sentenced. Man, I didn't know. I don't remember that story.
I do. Yeah.
That was a couple years ago, no? Or no?
It was when he got sworn in.
Last year.
It was the day he was getting sworn in, I believe. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know what he was inspired by? Luigi Mangione.
Oh, boy.
And sentiments calling Trump Nazis.
Wow.
Trump people Nazis. That's what inspired this guy. So, this hateful rhetoric and these political assassination, this political violence, this has got to stop.
Well, there's all kinds of cultural things going on we're going to talk about, including some surveys out of the UK, which are mirrored in the States. Boy, young women don't like young men. Kansas City Chiefs have a auspicious designation in Sports Illustrated. WNBA is going to be seeing some taller and hairier people, maybe. And Bob Onder will join us at 7:05. when we'll talk with him about everything from DSA that I guess won a couple last night, but really not as successful in their primary bids. John will cover the primaries a little bit later, and lots more on Wake Up Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler, Jennifer Bukowski in for Stephanie Bell. John and Drake joining us. We have a caller, Chris. What's up?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
I was told by a college student about 10 years ago that cocaine was the new marijuana on campus.
What?
That it was at every party, every bar, everything. Cocaine it wasn't as hard of a drug. I guess I'm just saying that's what I was told by a college student about 10 years ago.
So, Chris, let's ask you, general knowledge, is it not general knowledge that cocaine is like a major, hard to avoid, getting absolutely addicted to drug? I don't
think that's generally known.
You don't think that's general knowledge?
Generally known. I think that's very generally known.
That is super addictive?
So
you hear that
these
about heroin, but you hear people that just do it on weekends with cocaine.
Well, that's it. They're addicted. They got to have their cocaine.
On weekends, right?
So you're going to college. You're hoping you can't afford a home. You can't afford this. You can't afford that. Life's tough. Affordability. Better get a good job. Better have a good education. Hey, I think I'll start doing some cocaine because that's the right thing to do. What? Come on, really? What are kids thinking?
They're not. That's the only thing I can say.
All right. Hey, Chris, thank you for that that report. We got intrepid reporter Chris calling in today.
I've heard I've heard college kids that have seen it recently at Mizzou. Cocaine.
Nothing
I've never seen cocaine in my life. I'm like, dude, does no one think I'm cool enough to try to get me hooked on this stuff? I guess I'm not giving off vibes like I'd be open to it, which I shouldn't and wouldn't be, but no one thinks I'm cool enough to even offer. I've never seen it one time.
You've never seen it there's no way. You've had to at least seen it once, right?
Nope, I've never seen it.
Charles, text lines 573-874-9390 and the call-in line 800-529-5572. Charles says, was this Hunter Biden's fraternity? Randy says, weed being legalized has changed my drug conversations to a degree. I still tell them don't do drugs, even weed, but when they turn 18, Missouri says they can do drugs. That's one of the insidious, unappreciated things with legalizing marijuana. I think it gives it takes away a cultural guardrail that parents could lean on, And now parents, if it's legal for whatever, weed's okay, whatever, go ahead and do weed. Well, next it'll be cocaine. Next it'll be this. And again, I go on record, I'm for legalizing all these things totally, except for kids, as long as we take away the social safety net that we have currently. Let people understand this, let them experience it, let them fall hard and deep, but don't give them a safety net. Back with the Daily DC Rundown when we come back.
It's Wake Up
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. Time for the Daily DC Rundown with John Marsh.
Yep, Tuesday night's primary elections featured some closely watched federal races from sunny South Florida to frigid Alaska, all of which will help decide whether the Republicans maintain control of Congress or the Dems overtake them. Socialists will have a chance to unseat a sitting Florida Republican senator after upsetting a heavily favored opponent who outspent her 9-1. Democrat Socialist Representative Angie Nixon scored the big upset in the state's Democratic primary U.S. Senate. Nixon ran against retired Air Force Colonel Alexander Vindman, big critic of Trump. Representative Byron Donalds won the Republican primary for governor. Former Rep. David Jolly won the Democrat primary in the Sunshine State. GOP Senator Dan Sullivan, Democrat Mary Peltola face off in November for Alaska's Senate seat. Both candidates and a couple of the others thank the ranked choice and won't advance on to the general. Elsewhere, President late Tuesday slammed the brakes on the wave of tariffs set to hit Canada. He wrote, "I have paused a 50% tariff against Canada that were scheduled to kick in for a 3-day period, saying it's subject to the finalization of the deal and the documents." The president also said Tehran wants a deal with Washington but won't accept key terms, reiterating that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And amid the Memorandum of Understanding's expiration, oil prices back on the rise. Brent crude up almost 3% since yesterday.
3% in one day.
Yep.
I'm paying five Washingtons a gallon for my diesel. It's not a pretty sight.
You got to get rid of that diesel truck and get
I know. Oh,
get a Tesla
get a gas
truck.
one or get a Tesla truck. There you go.
Well, who wants my diesel truck now? That's the problem. Got no value now. But so hockey sticks, Drake, hockey sticks will be cheaper now if these tariffs go away, because that's one of the items that he's paused the tariff on from Canada. You excited about that? Don't you play little street hockey?
I've never played street hockey. I mean, it'd be fun.
We used to play it all the time. Loved it.
That's actually very important for America's hockey everything, because
it is.
Yeah, I mean, America has become like better than Canada in hockey. So, I mean, if our kids can't buy hockey sticks and they're priced out, we might, in the future not be as good and lose more Olympics and other things.
It's just amazing. Why is it that hockey sticks would have to come from Canada? Do we not have the wood or the expertise or both? Is it a special wood? I don't know.
Well, Bauer and CCM and all the big manufacturers, but you can bet they're all made in China. They may be designed in Canada at the big high-dollar companies, but they're made offshore.
Well, the PM up there cut a deal with China. Remember, he got real chummy with China when President Trump was invoking all those tariffs right away. Remember that? They got real friendly. Your kids ever play street hockey, Jennifer?
No.
Fun. Boy, I tell you, the duct tape on our house, you just couldn't keep enough duct tape around wrapping the blades in the concrete. Took a grip on it. Oh, the Kansas City Chiefs have been crowned with a glorious honor. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned.
I think
Along with Jennifer Bukowski, I'm Randy Tobler, and John Marsh is here, and Drake, of course, who we have to sometimes pull Drake kicking and screaming into the world of sports. You know, it's not high on his list, but once in a while I pull a sports story out to...
I am kicking this morning after seeing this story.
Well, this was interesting. So Sports Illustrated, now again, I don't know how they objectify this, but they are saying that the Kansas City Chiefs, they are crowning the Kansas City Chiefs as the decade's most successful sporting underdogs.
Mm-hmm. And they're using betting sites data.
Yeah, and all leagues. So the Chiefs, okay, the top 10 teams by win percentage as underdogs. Kansas City Chiefs, 2/3 of the time, 66%, so almost 67% if you round up, followed by the Ravens and the Steelers. Now, it's interesting, the football teams dominate the sports because they look at other sports too, and for instance, the Astros are 51%, the Cardinals 47%, but it's interesting, the football teams seem to have the highest percentage of presence on this top 10 thing for underdog. Wonder why that is.
I mean, baseball, it's one of those, anyone can win a baseball game, but whenever you come back and like you're an underdog in football, it's a lot harder and the odds are it's just different. It's just different. So I could kind of see it.
And then in the NBA, it's the Celtics, 43%. So the percentages in the other leagues can't even begin to rival the top ones in the NFL.
It's also just blatantly wrong. I mean, the Chiefs shouldn't
wrong?
be the team of the decade yet.
No, it's the underdog wins.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the underdog wins.
Right, the underdog wins, not comeback.
We're going to prop up with the Arizona Cardinals and the Dolphins going into this season. I mean, they're perpetual underdogs because they stink.
But they'd have to upset. They'd have to win to get on the list like the Chiefs have.
Who do you think is the leading among college basketball?
College basketball?
Yep. The leading underdog, the highest percentage of wins as an underdog.
UConn.
I think it's UConn, but...
The Devils, Blue Duke, Devils.
Duke is?
50% of the time they've been underdogs and won. When they were an underdog, they won 50% of the games. And then who did you say?
Sounds about right.
Who'd you say, Drake?
I was going to say UConn or the Kansas Jayhawks just because of how you phrased that. I don't know.
Actually, they're
trying to get under my skin.
The Kentucky Wildcats are 5th. Arizona Wildcats are 2nd. I think that's an interesting way to look at things. And then the NCAA football. So that was basketball. Football is Clemson Tigers. 57% of the time they win when they have won when they are an underdog.
So it's how the percentage of times you win as underdogs? Is that what it's measuring?
As an underdog.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Got it.
And so Clemson Tigers, number 1. Alabama, the Crimson Tide, 55% of the time. And, so it's not what percentage of the time you are an underdog, but as an underdog, what percentage of the time do you win? Now, in other underdog news, men, unite. We have a problem, especially among young men. A poll out of the UK, Jennifer. Now, Jennifer is our representative of the female persuasion here on the program today. And this is really weird. Gen Z women don't like men by large swaths. More than a fifth of women under age 30, that's 21% of women, have a negative view of the opposite sex. Meanwhile, men have a much higher view of women.
Well, yes, only 7% of men under 30 feel the same way about women.
Yeah.
21% don't like men.
And they conclude in this poll that it's not that men have been radicalized to the right, because there's been a lot of speculation because of the Andrew Tates and some of the misogynist guys. It's actually that the women are tacking far, far to the left. In fact, 6 in 10 said they couldn't date someone who disagreed with them on the Israel-Palestinian conflict or who didn't share their views on President Trump.
Yeah, 6 in 10 of the ones of the 25% who said that having different political views would be a red flag. But yeah, Israel, the Israel-Palestinian conflict is coming into the same league as President Donald Trump as something that's a deal breaker. You can't have a different opinion about. You've got to be basically anti-Israel. That's really disturbing to me. This trend. It's like an anti-Semitic trend. It feels like in the world right now.
So,
which is all the more reason that Israel needs to stay existing as an independent state.
How much of that are coattails?
Because the Jews aren't safe apparently again.
How much of that, about in terms of the Palestinian-Israeli thing, are coattails in a negative way on the Trump effect? I mean, Trump is friends with Bibi, so anything that Trump likes, I don't like. Therefore, I don't like anything that Trump likes, so I don't like the Israelis.
I don't know if it has to do with Trump.
Yeah, I think they're just separate. People just don't like the Jews anymore.
It's the Muslim Brotherhood is operating in America. We have their memorandum. This has been a plan that's been put in place for decades. October 8th didn't come out of nowhere, where they're, taking to the streets pro-Palestine when the Jews are still counting their dead.
I wouldn't say it's the Muslim Brotherhood necessarily.
That's part of it. It's definitely part of it.
I don't know if it accounts for as much as you think. I mean, there's been right-wing people on like 4chan for ages that have hated the Jews and think that they're pulling the strings behind everything and that everyone's puppeted by Israel or whatever. That's been going on.
Yeah. There's even the bunch out there that thinks that the Israelis killed Charlie Kirk.
Well,
so Drake, if you take a young lady to the mini golf, and for some reason the discussion she brings up, she pulls out her, what do you call it, the checkered flag,
keffiyeh,
the keffiyeh,
one
and
of the two,
the keffiyeh, and she says, I hate the Jews, I hate Netanyahu, I want Gaza freed, I want a one-state solution, Palestinian state, but you guys have hit it off really well, and you say, well. I tend to agree that there should be a two-state, just for theoretic. And you say, maybe a two-state solution, and I'm not real happy with, us giving all of our munitions to Israeli, but I like my Jewish friends. You think that'd be the end of the mini golf? You wouldn't make it to the 18th hole ever? No, wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't. You're putting me
in a situation that I don't ever want to see myself in. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd probably do something like that.
If Drake is on a date with a gal wearing a keffiyeh.
Well, no, she pulls it out.
Oh, okay.
On the
no, but that doesn't make sense. Don't they have to always wear it?
That should be a deal breaker. If your date rolls up in a keffiyeh, you need to get the heck out of there. You never know what's going to happen.
Or she borrowed the tablecloth from Pizza Hut. One of the two.
Women on the left, according to the survey, much more inclined to be economically favoring government intervention. Redistribution of wealth is very there. It's on there. 43% young women say it's unfair for some people to have more than others, and we should redistribute wealth.
Which is ironic because they're making 9% more than the men.
and they are.
So should they have to be given that 9% over the men?
Yeah, they're employed more than the men. Yeah.
And they're making 9% more than them. What's
also very interesting, well, here's the other thing. Gen Z women are significantly less likely to say they are proud to call themselves, in this case, British, than Gen Z men. But I looked at other polls in America, and it's mirrored. So young women in America, apparently, higher percentages aren't proud to be Americans.
It's amazing to me because you live in like the greatest time in history. And for Americans, you live in the greatest country in Earth's history. They're just so unhappy and complaining all the time.
Drake, you're in trouble, man. Only 11% of women 18 to 25 said that they had a very positive view of men. Only 11%. So of every 10 women you ask out, only one of them thinks they have a positive view of you. You're going into it with a negative bias, man. You're in a bad place.
These are the Brits, though. Keep that in mind. We don't know. Americans might not be like that.
The Brits are, but the ugly women in Britain, they can do whatever they want. I don't care. But this is, in America.
So at first I thought, this is just British. No, just do some research and you'll find that it's pretty much mirrored in American polls these days.
No, men nowadays are just kind of screwed. They're just screwed because they're either they hate men and you're fighting uphill the entire time, or they have so many guy friends that it's like, you can't even, it's not even worth fighting.
Well, 35%, this thing says, of women have a positive view because of things like, I don't care for them, they're not bad people, but they refuse to call out their friends who make other girls uncomfortable. and they'll laugh at jokes that are sexist, racist, homophobic.
And despite having higher admissions to graduate school and having more economic success, they are more likely to say, quote, things are stacked against me no matter how hard I try. Whereas men are more likely to say, relatively speaking, if you work hard and do the right thing, you can have success in Britain in this case. But it is mirrored among young men in America.
Also, the polls are always I want to know how this poll was conducted, because I'm naturally I don't trust polls as much, but this is interesting. I don't like this personally.
The other thing that's interesting is they're not very happy. The research said that women are less likely to say they feel happy, ambitious, excited, and fulfilled, and they're more pessimistic about the prospects of being happy for their life in general. Isn't it interesting? They're working more than men. They have more jobs than men. They have higher incomes than men. They're working hard, and they're not happy, excited, or fulfilled. Now, does that mean that they're really in the wrong place? They shouldn't be working as hard? Maybe they should be having a family?
Try telling that to a girl that's 18 to 25. Ooh.
Well, I'm asking a question. I'm not making a pronouncement. I'm asking a question. Are they in the wrong seat in the bus? They're putting off they're AOCing it. They're getting their eggs frozen. In another part of the poll, they said they would rather be hanging out with men of their people of their own gender. They'd rather hang out with other women than men.
Maybe they ought to hook up with the Sigma Chi guys at Penn State, and they might change their opinion.
We have some real cultural chasms here dividing men and women at this age group anyway. So let me ask our wake-up audience, if you have younger people that are single and are in that age group, what are they saying? And also, if you're maybe 30, 40, 50, what are you saying? What are you hearing among your single friends? Is it hard, guys, to find a gal that wants to even look at you or talk to you? Women, when a guy wants to look or talk at you, you go, meh, I don't care. I'm with my gal friends. We're just hanging out, eating chips and drinking margaritas. Let me know. I'm interested in it. 573-874-9390. The number's 800-529-5572. That's a 1-800 number if you want to call in. I'm curious what you think about that. When we come back, semaglutide may be a miracle drug. Some new information on that. Stay tuned for more on Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up
charged for allegedly.
So there's an interesting study. Welcome into Wake Up Missouri. A little bit about these GLP-1s are just amazing. The way things are happening here. There's a study called the SELECT study that has looked at overweight and obesity and GLP-1s. And what's amazing is we're beginning to see the results, and I don't think it's news to a lot of you who either on or who administer GLP-1s, that before people actually lose their weight, before the diabetes gets better, the inflammatory numbers are getting better. And systemic inflammation, Jennifer, is a big deal, as you know, whether it's heart disease or dementia or some cancers. I mean, a lot of folks that are overweight have high numbers for these biomarkers for inflammation. And
that can hurt your joints and put you in pain,
and your heart,
right?
Yep, and your brain and everything.
Wow.
Because and in the study they looked at something called CRP, which is a measure of inflammation. And heavier people will tend to have higher CRPs because fat is an inflammatory generator. And that's associated with, if you have a CRP level over 10, it's almost a quadruple your risk of major cardiovascular event, like a heart attack or a stroke, or having to have like a stent or a bypass surgery or sudden death. So we try to get the CRP levels down. Well, when people start these CRPs, they're finding in the study, these GLP-1s, that before the weight is lost, to the extent it's like, okay, if I lose 50 pounds, my CRP is going to go down. Before folks lose the same amount of weight that is normally correlated with that, their inflammation is going down.
We just keep hearing so many good things about this. Like that is really remarkable. Before you even lose the weight with these drugs, that inflammation is going down.
Do you have any friends? I have patients and friends who have told me, I've heard all the stuff about probably shouldn't be having a couple drinks a night, because we used to think a couple drinks was okay for a guy and one for a gal. And people are going like, so I started my, whatever, Mounjaro or my what, and I just don't have the craving. Or smoking. Yeah. I don't really want that cigarette. I don't have the same need for it. So
my doctor said that she's noticed that too with her patients, that they sometimes that GLP-1 makes people cut down on drinking.
So these things, I mean, there are some potential negatives of these. We're seeing some folks that are losing too much weight too quickly, and a lot of it is
muscle.
Yep.
And some people complain about thinning hair.
Yep.
But other than that, in terms of your overall health, it seems to be a lot of upsides to this.
I think you're right.
Using this.
I think I have a lot of patients who are, we have several patients who are just through lifestyle alone are making the change, and they're making really positive change.
People are looking good.
It's harder,
when you take off 20 pounds and all of a sudden you look younger, you're moving faster.
Hard to do, though, without help.
Or without the GLP-1. The GLP-1 makes it easy, right?
Yeah, the big question on the table, though, is what's going to happen? Are people going to be committed to the GLP-1s forever? I think we'll probably get into either a microdosing situation. Where folks
just to maintain it.
Just use
so you're not
bit.
Starving yourself, but you're not gorging yourself either.
Well, now they've got the oral version too, right?
Is that out?
Yeah, it's out, but the results aren't the same.
Oh, okay.
But still, it's an option, it's out there. So I don't know. Well, anyway, if it's something that it's a conversation you ought to have with your doc, if you struggle just trying to use willpower to lose weight, and, despite all your best efforts, you've gone to the gym or you're, getting on the treadmill, got to be careful about, how these things are used and if it's appropriate for you, and then have that conversation with your doctors. There's a lot of benefits other than just the mirror and the scale. When we come back, we talk with Congressman Bob Onder about last night's primaries. What does it tell us about DSA?
Oh, yeah.
About the upcoming midterms, about Iran, and more on Wake Up Missouri.
from the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters.
For you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline.
It's your morning addiction.
Tish James has refused to prosecute anti-Semitic hate crimes.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team.
We added Election Integrity to Save America Act with some funding for troops and farmers.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Brought in kilos of cocaine at a time in 2023 and 2024.
Welcome back to Wake Up Missouri as we are now past another tranche of primaries. And to help us sort out from a very, very close-in perspective what might be happening come legislative time next January is Congressman Bob Onder, 3rd District Congressman. And Bob, as we welcome into the program, thanks for joining us on Wake Up Missouri.
It's great to be back, Randy.
You know, as you survey the landscape, I saw a New York Post piece the other day that said, hey, you know, they were looking at sort of some of those very safe blue, districts. And it's like, you know, some of those DSA, those communist candidates are actually winning, likely to win the general. And they could pump the squad, in air quotes here, squad numbers from 7 to 14. Does
There's
that,
one less now, though, right?
Yeah. But does that rise to the level of having a material impact, or is it just a flash in the pan? What do you think if it happens?
Well, yeah. I don't. The squad members could increase, but you know, Randy, if you told me 10 years ago that there would come a day when a substantial number of Democrat voters would believe that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries weren't far enough left, I wouldn't have believed it. But here we are. Huh. You know, I think a lot of the Democrat socialist success is fueled by frustration with the economy, as we all are frustrated. But the Democrat socialists are out of step even with most Democrats that you and I have known over the years anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, they favor defunding of the police, government-run grocery stores, gender ideology, and anti-Semitism. They'd outlaw private health insurance for the unions that negotiated so hard for that insurance. Mm-hmm. And yet a substantial number of Democrat primary voters have chosen the likes of Abdul al-Sayed in Michigan, Troy Jackson in Maine, Peggy Flanagan in Minnesota, and then yesterday Angie Nixon in Florida. But I think the Democrats will lose 3, if not 4 of those 4 races. But it is a disturbing development that so many of our fellow Americans have embraced insanity over common sense, big government over freedom. And, you know, I'm afraid that has been the long-term drift of the Democrat Party.
That's Congressman Bob Onder joining us on Wake Up Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler, along with Jennifer Bukowski, in for Stephanie.
Bob, if the squad does increase in size, hopefully not to 14, and the Democrats take the House, what kind of clout will they wield? Will they have enough to get their votes on other Democrat bill priorities that they will have to make concessions to them? And since we still hold the White House and Trump can veto their stuff, does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're alluding to there, Jen, is really the concern. It's not so much that they'll have the numbers to get things done by themselves. Clearly, they won't. But the kind of intimidation factor, the idea that Democrat leadership and, you know, their fellow marginally more moderate Democrats will appease them. That's the real concern. Mm-hmm. I think it would be likely we'd still have Hakeem Jeffries as speaker. I think that's the case. But yeah, that Hakeem and the others would give them much of what they want. Yes, we will have, I think we will keep the Senate and, certainly we'll have the White House. But certainly if the Democrats have both chambers, we would be looking at a whole lot of presidential vetoes, to be sure.
Congressman, what's going to happen in January, do you think, with the massive request for the increased defense spending and gearing up the missile defense and the expanding the Navy and all? What do you think that's going to be like when you all return?
Yes, very, very good question. Right before August recess, The House passed a budget bill to begin the reconciliation process, in which we were trying to lock down more money for the military to replenish missiles and other armaments expended in the Iranian conflict, as well as a couple of other things, and including money toward election integrity and Save America. It does not, the Senate did not take up that bill before their recess. And Democrats, by and large, are not supportive of funding the conflict in Iran. So it will be an interesting fight come January as to military funding. But to be sure, we do need to replenish the missiles, both defensive and offensive, that have been used in the Iranian conflict, as well as, of course, supporting our troops. A lot has been a lot of publicity recently about conditions on the aircraft carrier and so on. If we're going to be in these conflicts, of course, we're going to have to pay for it some way.
We're talking with Congressman Bob Onder on Wake Up Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler, along with Jennifer Bukowski and John Marsh and Drake. Now, Bob, you have been at the point of the spear to protect our children and to protect taxpayers for paying doctors and facilities to do these mutilating procedures and hormonal transformations. And I saw in your post, some great news about the DOJ now going in a different sphere as a doc and as an attorney. What's your reaction to the DOJ investigating doctors for insurance fraud in this realm?
Yeah, this was something that we uncovered in the House Judiciary Committee. I believe it was about 6 months ago, when we had Ethan Heim, the young surgeon who was the whistleblower at Texas Children's Hospital, that there is a pattern of widespread insurance fraud by these quacks who run these gender transition kids that do these sex rejecting procedures on minors. And you and I, of course, as physicians, know that when we bill for any kind of a medical service, you have to have the appropriate diagnosis attached to it. You, Randy, couldn't do a hysterectomy and then bill for the diagnosis of prostate cancer. It wouldn't make any sense, and the insurance companies would reject that claim right away because it doesn't make sense. But gender dysphoria, a psychological psychiatric condition that these children have, if you put some nasty hormonal drug or bilateral mastectomy as the if you try to bill a hormone or a mastectomy under a psychological condition, insurance companies would reject it. So they were committing insurance fraud by using diagnoses like endocrine disorder.
Oh boy!
It looks like at least tens of millions of dollars of insurance fraud have gone on in our Medicaid programs as well as private insurance.
Wow!
And,
so they were putting in there that they had endocrine disorders when really they were just trying to get them the drugs covered by insurance for transgender drugs or transing the kids.
Right.
Wow.
Or puberty blockers, for instance. The one appropriate use of puberty blockers is when children go into puberty very, very early.
Right.
Let's say 6 years old. It is appropriate to use a puberty blocker for a few years, and then take off that puberty blocker to let normal puberty progress later on. They were using precocious puberty, even though the child was a normal age for puberty. So just massive insurance fraud. And there needs to be accountability here. Bobby Kennedy at the HHS, along with Admiral Brian Christine, issued a report, Wolves in White Coats, a report I'd recommend to your listeners. It is truly an evil industry. They're exploiting these poor kids with depression, with anxiety, society with sometimes just the normal struggles of reaching adolescence. They're exploiting these poor kids and making them lifelong medical patients, rendering them sterile, destroying their bone function, their endocrine function. It really is horrific, and it's good to see that we're finally moving away from it. We've realized that the gender ideology, so-called gender medicine, is really the emperor that has no clothes, and it's time to put it to an end.
Yeah, and it was never based on any settled science, right? The standards of care, they were just kind of experimenting and making things up as they went along. Is that right?
Well, that's right. In fact, the head of the pediatric gender clinic in St. Louis said, quote, "We are building the airplane as we're flying it." It was always experimental. And this week, WPATH, or last week, WPATH, the major transgender industry association in the FTC lawsuit said, "Yeah, no, these were just suggestions. They were never formal guidelines or practice parameters. They were just, our opinion." Well, they're trying to get away from legal liability there. Not long ago they were saying this was all settled science, but it is really the worst example of medical malpractice in my lifetime. It's time we get beyond it, and it's time we shut down all these transgender clinics once and for all. That's why I filed the Chloe Cole Act to protect kids permanently, so it won't be dependent on who's in the White House as to whether kids are protected from this poisonous ideology.
How's that progressing, Bob?
Yeah, so right before the August recess, we passed it out of the House Judiciary Committee, and I've been talking to leadership. I'm hoping we have it to the floor shortly.
I hope you're so right. We have to codify so many of these great initiatives that are, they're born on the wings of a president that happens to be in the Oval Office now in a pen and an executive order. We've got to get this codified into law. So,
Amen.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll be happy to pay for the steak if you'll have the dinner with maybe Leader Thune or whoever it takes. We can get that done over in the Senate after you get it in the House. Sound good?
We need to get it done. Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. Hey, thank you for being with us, Congressman Bob Onder, joining us on Wake Up Missouri. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Yeah, that we've got to get that. We've just got to get that passed into law. No doubt about it. When we come back, a big loss for you rockers. Time to start growing your beard.
It's Wake Up
Well, there's that big ZZ Top.
You got John rocking out down there.
John's rocking out.
He's a fan.
John is rocking out on Wake Up Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler. There's John rocking out. And Jen, were you rocking out to ZZ Top?
I like that song.
It's a good one. It's a good music video, too. It's fun. They're at a gas station there and having fun.
I saw them back in the day on the worldwide Texas tour where they had a live full-grown Longhorn on stage with them.
No.
What?
Wow.
How would they manage that?
He didn't behave. Let's just leave it at that at the breakfast hour.
I wonder what they were smoking when they decided to go with that for a part of their act.
So so Frank Beard, who was a founding member, a legendary drummer, he died yesterday at age 77. And I was reading that they were on a tour, and he was trying to make some of those concerts, and was actually, I think, maybe as late as a week and a half or two ago, he performed at a concert. But I guess he'd had some health problems, and anyway, he succumbed at age 77 to health issues. Frank Beard of ZZ Top, dead.
And he was the only guy in ZZ Top without a beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And his last name is Beard.
You
That's
gotta love
ironic.
it, right? Frank Beard did not have a beard. It's rich.
And
They
that
played
comes
together
on,
51 years.
Yeah, and that comes on, several years ago when longtime bassist Dusty Hill died.
There's only one of the original members now that survives.
Billy Gibbons.
Yeah. So,
But they played together 51 years. That's some staying power. Usually these bands break up.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have a Yoko Ono or something happens, and they don't last that long.
it's really tough when you watch like a Chicago concert or a Blood, Sweat, and Tears or any of those, or even now there's only a couple members of the Earth, Wind, and Fire. When you watch some of these old groups and there's just a couple members there, and the young guys that are trying to fill in, those are heavy shoes to fill, right? When you come in and you're trying to fill a legendary lead vocal or lead guitar, you name it, it's tough. But my wife and I were talking about, I said, I remember something and she came up with it. Here it is. Remember Sesame Street and ZZ Blues?
Well, I've seen a lot of letters, and it seems to me there's something real special about the letter Z. But boy, we're sick of singing about zippers and zoos. There ain't enough Z words, got the ZZ blues. And you can't stick with zebra cause it's tried and true.
And they
They have Muppets that look like the band members, and the drummer doesn't have a beard.
Yeah,
That's
no,
interesting.
They've got the Muppets with their guitars, and they're playing. They've got the beards, and of course the drummer doesn't have one. Frank Beard, dead at age 77, founding member of the ZZ Top group.
Fun fact, they sold 50 million records and it had 6 number one songs, and they are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep, huge group. All right, rest in peace, Frank. Some great work on the Traps did he do, for sure. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri. Thanks for being with us. When we come back, it's getting mean on the stump, and they're going after an assistant for Donald Trump. That's when we come back on Wake Up Missouri.
Has America been
Thanks for being with us on Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer's in for Steph. I'm Randy Tobler, John Marsh, and Drake Whitman. And we found something out, Jennifer, over the break about Drake. We just got done talking. If you're just joining us, we were grieving over the death of Frank Beard, the founding member and drummer of ZZ Top. And I get this text from Drake. Drake, tell me it's AI. Is this real?
This is real,
This
yeah.
is awesome. Now, you got to know, Drake has a lot of musical prowess, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't, he's played accordion on the air. He's quite a musician, accomplished musician. And you in the marching Mizzou, you played what?
I was about to say, you say I'm an accomplished musician. Don't bring up the marching Mizzou part.
No, but
you just
give
did.
me time. Give me time. What'd you play? Flugelhorn?
Trumpet.
Trumpet.
Who plays flugelhorn anymore? Unless if you're in jazz or anything like that.
I don't know.
Oh, I love flugelhorn too. Don't get me wrong.
Euphonium? Maybe euphonium? No, trumpet. Okay. And I get this picture. Drake, my gosh, explain this picture. This was a picture from your prom at which school?
Salisbury.
There's a little sadness about this story.
Yeah, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a jerk to my buddies, but they couldn't find prom dates in time for prom. And, we were just shooting ideas at each other, and we were like, oh, let's go we'll walk down the Grand March thing at ZZ Top. And I'm like, I have a date. I don't know what you're talking about. They talked me into it. We bought like the big fake beards, and, you can find a guitar just about anywhere nowadays. So
here's a picture of you up on stage with you're flanked. You're in the center with the guitar.
That's not true. I'm on the side.
So where are you? Who's in the center?
Well,
that's my buddy Emery.
You went a ZZ Top to prom. That's fun. And
you're on the
it's
side.
topical given
this guy in the center looks like you.
Yeah, his name's Emery. He's a stud. He's a stud.
Oh, yeah, he looks like Drake, and he's a stud. There you go. So Drake, you're flanking this guy, and here you are with your guitar. Now, did you actually play, or were you just mouth syncing to some?
No, we didn't play. They're not hooked up to amps.
And you had this is hilarious. You've got your ZZ Top beards on. What was the reaction among your fellow classmates there?
I don't remember much from that prom, if I'm going to be quite honest.
Now, you had a date, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Was
Alleged
she okay
date.
with you having a fun?
Alleged date. Whoa.
Jennifer, whoa.
I don't see her in that photo that you said. I'm just saying. I'm just kidding you.
Jennifer,
yeah, I know.
Jennifer drives the dagger deep and twists it a little bit.
Well, she was taking the picture.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. So we were going to talk about this Natalie Harp thing.
Unbelievable. Here is Senator John Ossoff from Georgia.
And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
And that launched a viral storm like you can't believe, Jennifer.
Well, it should. Okay, so Natalie Harp, he says Natalie, President Trump's personal assistant and aide, does a lot of his social media stuff. She's often at his side. They call her the human printer because she's always like coming up with the things that President Trump wants to read. And she's just basically at his beck and call as your assistant would be if you're president. Mm-hmm. She's a 35-year-old unmarried woman, good-looking woman. And he's insinuating that there's something sexual going on between the two of them just by mere virtue of the fact that she's a woman. And that's really ugly to do with no evidence whatsoever. Just because she's a good-looking woman, you're saying that there's something inappropriate about Donald Trump having her as his assistant. It's just troublesome to me. It's very sexist. And, Donald Trump can take it. But why should Natalie Harp be thrown into this and have aspersions cast at her? She's a dedicated aide who's given up 4 years of her life to work 24/7 for this president because she believes in the mission and because, by the way, she's grateful to him because thanks to the right to try that he passed under his first administration, she was able to survive bone cancer.
John Ossoff picked the wrong target. If he was going to talk about one of the beautiful ladies that are in Trump world, he should not have picked on Natalie Harp.
Yeah, she's not public.
She's a cancer
She's just
survivor.
there. She's got a chair in the White House. like to the side. So she's like, whenever they're in the Oval Office, she's got a designated chair so that she's on hand when Trump needs something. She goes and gets it. She goes, just like you're a busy guy. You can't get up from your desk and get everything. He has an assistant to get things for her. But she's not like a big public persona. She's a dedicated aide doing her job. And to get picked on like that just because you're a woman is sexist. But I'll tell you what, I have to concede this. This is kind of a Trump-like move. All of a sudden, everyone's talking about Ossoff. Have we ever been talking about Ossoff? The whole country is. So he's getting a lot of earned media out of it.
It's come out. It's alleged that she was with him on the what would you call it? The little container cart that goes from the real Air Force One to the cargo jet.
Yeah, when they did the switcheroo, when there was a threat to President Trump's life, he only had a handful of aides with him, and she was one of them. So he's using that to insinuate. But she's always there with him because she's getting him the different articles he wants to read or whatever happens. And they're like, oh, she spends more time with the president than even Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. You know why? Because that's her job to be like assisting him all the time. Susie Wiles is the boss of everyone at the White House, and she's managing the employees there.
And there's allegations you haven't seen much of Melania, yada, yada. Okay,
Remember they beat up on Harp when the memes came out as the Obamas as monkeys, and what was the other one? Oh, Trump Jesus. And they said, oh, Trump's handler was behind those memes.
Oh, they blamed her for those social media posts?
Her for those.
I did not remember that was her. But, yeah,
However,
interesting.
I have a criticism of the communications director, Stephen Chung. Because can we all agree that unless you're already dyed-in-the-wool, lefty, blue, progressive, pro-DSA, anti-anything Trump ever does, even if he cured cancer, you're gonna really, when John Ossoff says, and he's going to be an ambitious guy for 28. I guarantee you, he'll be in the hunt for the 28 Democrat presidential nominee. Now he's on the map because of this. Here we are giving him air. But then Stephen Chung on X, who's the communications director of the White House, the most revered house in the planet of leadership and global authority, and he posts. John, I can't say it, but it's a word for men pleasuring themselves, has to be the biggest cuck loser in politics instead of denigrating hard-working people. So why?
I didn't know we couldn't say that word.
I don't know if you can or not. I don't want to say it. It's coarse. It's inappropriate. It's unnecessary.
It's alliterative. It starts with a J.
It starts.
It's John J. Word has to be the biggest cuck loser, but you could say cuck, in politics.
Well,
you know what?
Cuck, I think it refers. It's what conservatives refer to weak beta males on the left about, right? I think that's their term for them. Spineless males. Okay, Drake, what does it mean?
I'm not saying what it means on air.
But Stephen Chung, you know why I think he had such a visceral reaction? He probably works very closely with Natalie Harp. They're probably good friends, and he's probably angry. And I kind of get that sense from this tweet that he is really mad.
He's
at
right,
a personal level.
You're right, and he says you can understand it. But he does go on to say John Ossoff should look deep. He didn't say Ossoff. John should look deep into his soul and ask himself why he's a miserable person who hates this country. And here's another thing.
It's because he's a radical extremist Democrat.
I think this is one where I think Donald Trump's got it wrong. It's because he's a radical extremist Democrat. I don't think it serves the president well in this atmosphere when you're on the defensive, looking at midterms, the Iran thing's turned into much more than you said it would, calling the Democrats.
I like it.
Okay, well, there are center-left people who may have voted for Donald Trump that voted for Democrats in the past. They don't like being called Democrats.
If they're swayable, then they're not really a true blue Democrat, are they?
I don't know.
Maybe it's persuadable. You don't want to be associated with dumb people.
Do you think the rhetoric coming from all parts of D.C. and our political class, you see F-bombs being dropped all over the place. You see the S word being dropped, and the president's done it. Do you think that that's good for the soul and the heart of America? Is it just good for our culture? 573-874-9390, 800-529-5572. There's a reason it's called locker room talk. Should it be stump speech talk? Should it be rally talk? I don't know. I don't think so. What do you think?
Press conference talk.
Yeah. I think leaders lead by example, right? And if they do something like that, maybe they apologize or they say, "Hey, that was out of bounds." But now that seems to be almost obligatory speech on the left. They're dropping the F-bombs all the time. They somehow think that's their version of being Trump authentic, and it's not coming off well.
Yeah, the president's had his as well. He tells it like he sees it as well. And you wonder, back in the day, the FCC would have gone after the broadcast entities out there who cleared that kind of stuff.
Jennifer, you saw something. Speaking of elections, we've been talking a lot about the Save America Act and about election fraud, and we
need to pass that Save America
Even some
Act.
think tanks are saying, well, it's not consequential. A few votes here that were illegal. Well, it was several hundred out of several thousand illegals registered in New Jersey. You found some interesting data from the Census Bureau.
The White House put this out yesterday. The Census Bureau has begun checking the voter records from 2020 against their citizenship records.
Mm-hmm.
And they've found, and they haven't even completed their review yet, they've found over 24,000 non-citizens voted illegally.
Actually voted
illegally.
Not registered, voted.
Depending on where those people are located, some of these states were decided by small margins.
Yep.
And if this is in 2020, think about it. That's before Biden was president and we just had open borders and mobs of people coming in, millions of them. So they stopped saying that this doesn't happen and that we're just making things up and trying to do scare tactics when we talk about election integrity, because guess what? It's happening. It's happening in bigger numbers than we knew about previously. And I hope that if they do this review for 2024, it's not a whole lot more, because Biden let a whole lot of people in that aren't citizens, didn't he?
If this isn't a smoking gun, I don't know what isn't.
Yeah, over 24,000 illegally voted.
24,000. That's enough to sway a vote, to sway an electoral vote.
Yeah, it could, depending on where they were located. It could sway the result in the Electoral College.
This was stunning news to me. Really something.
It would have to all be in like one state probably to make it sway. But now that we have so many more illegal immigrants in the country, how big was the number in 2024? That's what I want to know.
John, what's coming up?
How about a chicken Oreo? Twist, lick, vote.
Straight ahead, John, with that story on Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
this.
Oreo has unveiled its first of its kind meat-flavored cookie as part of the new limited-time lineup. Introduced as part of Oreo's new Twist, Lick, and Vote campaign. You can cast your vote on the Oreo website through October 12th. And each fan who casts a vote has a chance to win a year's supply of original Oreos. Here's this year's offerings. The new banana pudding Oreo packs layers of banana and vanilla pudding between 2 vanilla wafered cookies. The deep fried Oreo, fried dough flavored cookies with layers of dark chocolate and fried dough flavored cream. And the chicken and waffles Oreo takes its name from the southern dish, a waffle textured cookie filled with a dual layer cream. Carries notes of fried chicken and maple syrup. The commenters on X, I know chicken and waffles is a weird one and I'll buy it first. Another says if chicken and waffles wins, I'm suing Oreo for crimes against humanity. 3 flavors available for pre-sale on Oreo's website and will hit the stores for a limited time August 24th. And as we spin back into past Oreo flavors that they tried. In the Asian markets, how about a wasabi Oreo?
Yeah.
The popular Coca-Cola and Pop Rocks Oreo. But to put it all down, the one year they had the Thanksgiving tin with a sweet potato Oreo, a cream corn Oreo, and wait for it, the turkey and dressing Oreo.
I think I'd go deep fried because the actual cookie is just fried dough flavored with dark chocolate and fried dough cream inside. That sounds actually pretty good to me.
Sounds like they're popular
way better than
at the
chicken
fair.
and waffles.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
And they're not actually deep fried, so maybe they're a little less unhealthy for you. if anything, I know Oreos aren't exactly a health food, but
and especially when you go to the state fair and get them deep fried, right?
Oh boy!
When it comes to these novel flavors, do you tend to get opinions from others before you try them, or you dive right in and try it?
I don't, but my kid, what if he's always picking up on stuff like this and wanting to try new flavor. I just don't go. I guess I'm aged out of where you try all these new things all the time.
They had, was it last year, Drake, that they had the one floating around the building, and it was some strange Oreo, and it was not very tasty.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing that always just ends up in the workroom. We had like pickle-flavored trail mix or something like a week or two ago. I did just vote on Oreo's website.
No, I think Scotty brought that in from Clear. He brought in some trail mix, but it had instead of cheese balls, it was pickle flavored. The little puff balls.
Pickle balls? Yeah,
they were
I've gotten
good.
those.
Leave it to Randy to eat.
I love pickleball. I don't like those pickleball puffs.
I wondered. I thought
I've been given them.
Pickleball fan. I thought you might like.
They get given to me. People see them and get them, and I'm not into them.
Yeah.
I love pickles. I love cheese puffs. I don't like them together.
Do you like the salt and vinegar potato chips?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not the pickle flavor. Okay.
The pickle flavored chips and the salt and vinegar chips taste exactly the same to me.
They do? Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
so Drake, you're an early adopter of novel flavors. I mean, you try it early.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I love trying the new flavors. They're usually pretty good. Rarely will you get a pack and you say, I'm not eating the rest of these.
Helene has me trained, man. I've got to get a big endorsement for something that's that malnutritious and calorie laden before I lay into it. I've got to get like 5 thumbs up from different people before I'll waste calories on that. Otherwise,
I can't let Oreos in my house, or I just sit there and eat them.
She always reminds me, not worth the calories, not worth the Thank you. But then I sneak over to the roller grill. She doesn't know. Back with Evan Brown on Meta Facebook. Stay tuned. Hey, we're back on Wake Up Missouri, along with Jennifer Bukowski. And for Steph, I'm Randy, along with John and Drake. And who isn't talking about social media, about its influence on all of us, not just our kids, but at least we're aware of it. Maybe we can self-regulate. What about those kids? Well, there's a lot going on in the courts. Fox News' Eben Brown joins us now to talk about a huge trial going on about that very issue. Eben, welcome in. Thanks for being on.
Good morning.
So I think parents lose a lot of sleep staring at the ceiling when their kids finally get that phone, get their hands on that phone, and they're thinking, oh boy, talk about Pandora's box. That's what at issue here, no?
Well, a little bit. This is a lawsuit by 4 states against Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram and others, that is arguing that the company doesn't do much to protect kids and often capitalizes on the presence of kids and their behavior online to try to keep the kids glued to their apps and therefore harming them in that kind of way, and that they're exposed to dangerous or inappropriate content, stuff that could actually cause them physical pain or physical injury, like with some of these physical challenge video trends that they do where they choke each other or eat Tide Pods or something like that. And in other cases where they have access to do real-world things that can be dangerous, like purchasing drugs. Facebook, or Meta, I should say, will argue that they have robust parental controls that have been in further development over the years, and that they have worked to empower parents to monitor and limit their kids' activity on the platforms. The attorneys general will argue that the behavior on the platform itself is what is worth to Meta, that they are using that to train algorithms and AI to better trap in the kids. And Meta will respond with, no, we're actually using that data to try to prevent the kids from getting roped in. So on and so forth. Ultimately, with a big concern here from Meta is that they say that if they lose this lawsuit, they are facing $1.4 trillion in damages, which is their market cap. They could be put out of business.
Yeah, wow. Well,
the attorneys general are saying, no, we're not seeking that amount of money. That ultimately be decided by a judge, but we're thinking it's going to be way less than that, something like $200 billion, which is, of course, no small amount of money either. But the idea that this would be what pressures Meta into making some very fundamental changes that these states very much want to see.
Eben, I hear this case being compared to big tobacco a lot, but when it came to tobacco, cigarettes have a fairly straightforward physiological mechanism of addiction and physical harm, but establishing that Instagram caused depression or anxiety or an eating disorder or suicide, it's a little bit more complicated, wouldn't you say? After all, social media addiction isn't itself a diagnosis.
A couple of things here. One of the parts of the backlash against big tobacco was that they were marketing towards children. You know, the idea of selling plush toys of Joe Camel. Who are you selling those to? For what, right?
But it was much more easily proved that was addictive.
Them, but they'd be giving them to their kids. So the point is that there was a concern that the big tobacco companies had a business interest in looping in the next generation of consumers for their product, which would be kids. Eventually, they grow up and turn 18 and can buy cigarettes legally, as opposed to getting the guy outside the 7-Eleven to buy them for you. So with regard to social media, if you have things like beauty filters on the selfie camera within the social media app, doesn't that affect a child in a way that they begin to have a warped self-perception and begin to have emotional difficulties because of that? Or if they are seeing photos of other kids supposedly their age looking more adult, more mature, more quote-unquote beautiful or handsome. This affects girls, but we also know it affects boys. This very absolutely stupid looks-maxing trend that we've all been talking about, where young men are taking hammers to their cheekbones to break the bones in their face to try to get better-shaped faces. It's absolutely stupid, but that didn't happen because they read it in a book in a library.
Yeah, I was just pointing out, like, cigarettes is more straightforward, the physiological addiction and the physical harm that cigarettes cause, whereas there's nothing like technically called social media addiction in like the DSM-5, so it's a little more complicated proving that It's the social media things causing these different harms.
And the science needs to fully catch up to the point that it ends up in the DSM-5, but it's certainly a trend and a phenomenon that a lot of people have certainly documented at this point, that what these kids are exposed to, and it's not the same as watching television where, after a few hours you're done watching. These kids have a device in the palm of their hand, which has a feature called infinite scroll, and all they do is sit there scrolling videos in a way that, what happens next, what happens next, what happens next? And sometimes the things in that video are not very good, not very healthy. And a great example or great demonstration of this, and this involves TikTok more than Meta, but the Chinese parent company of TikTok, before the supposed buyout of it by an American company, China doesn't allow TikTok in China.
Yeah.
Because of how it affects kids. They use some of the same technology for a different app that pushes videos like how to study better and how to help your grandma cross the street, as opposed to, hey, choke out your friends and see how long you can go without breathing. So, those are part and parcel of the problem. And I'm not saying that Facebook is intentionally doing anything like that. I really don't think that. The question is are they allowing this on their platform? Are they not protecting kids enough? And are they not giving parents the means to protect their kids? And ultimately, I think what Facebook will say is we have developed a lot of parental controls that you as a parent have to figure out how to use. We think they're pretty simple. We have training capabilities for you on this. But ultimately, you are the parent. You are the one who buys the phone. You are the one who pays the bill to the wireless company every month. And therefore, if your kid can't handle the phone, take the phone away.
Yeah, that's your problem.
Fox News' Evan Brown joins us talking about a landmark lawsuit against Meta brought by 29 states. Trial started this week here on Wake Up, Missouri.
Evan, you talked about the whole government control versus parental control. Remember a couple of years ago when Mark Zuckerberg testified before the committee and turned around to the gallery and apologized and all. Do you think that may still play into this suit, or are we past that?
Well, hard to say. I mean, it's a separate lawsuit, right? So, would they use previous statements of Mark Zuckerberg against him? Probably. Certainly, if it helps to make their case, the Facebook or Meta lawyers would have to try to do their best to keep that either contained or excluded. Ultimately, this is being decided by a judge. There's an advisory jury that will hear everything, but the judge is the one actually ruling on it.
Yeah, that's an odd nuance of this.
Evan, can I ask you about the one of the star witnesses is a former Meta engineer who then came back as a safety contractor and basically insinuated in his testimony that, they were aware of these safety things that needed to be implemented. They designed them, but then I think he described them as just pebbles in the pond rather than really. They didn't institute all they could. Tell us about it.
The complaint from, and some people are calling this guy a whistleblower, or this. I don't know if that's really the actual term here, but he's alleging that Facebook developed some parental controls. It doesn't go far enough. They weren't very serious about it. Meta, of course, has the right to cross-examine and dispel what he is testifying to. And I'm sure that all of that's going to happen. Meta has been very upfront, I think, and certainly forthcoming in terms of promoting these parental controls. And because they want, I think, to have, kids first use it, but use it safely and use it with their parents' understanding of how it's being used. It is the contention of folks like Mark Zuckerberg and others that this technology, whether it's Meta, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's a lot of this stuff, that this can be used for positive means and positive results for kids in the ways of keeping them connected to the world, learning about their world, assisting with their education. But like anything else, it can be abused or misused, and that there needs to be oversight here. And I don't think Meta would say there shouldn't be any. But Meta will also say, the parents have to make sure they're using the tools we're giving them.
Do they still have protections under that law that was talked about, where they claim, and this had to do with the whole deal during the election cycle in 2020, they claim protection that they're not publishing the information that people see. They're just the piece of paper, and people choose to write on the piece of paper what they will. Do they still have those protections?
I don't think so. I think that this has to do with enabling parents to have better ways of monitoring what their kids are doing. If we were to let's look at broadcasting, the supposed safe harbor that adult-oriented programming or programming ill-equipped for kids should not be broadcast before before 10 p.m. or whatever that hour is. I think it's along those lines. It's how are we keeping kids from seeing things that they shouldn't see, and is the technology itself causing kids to have mental health issues? Are they, because the kids, of course, they're kids. They're not necessarily mature enough to turn something off when they've had too much of it. So some of these parental controls, for instance, that are already out there include time limits. You only get to use it an hour a day or whatever it is. After every 10 minutes of scrolling, the thing pops up and says take a break. And it won't let you scroll for another 15 minutes or whatever it is. Those are the things that these companies, and it's not just Meta, but TikTok does this, and so on and so forth. Is this enough? Is this as effective? And are these companies trying to come up with other ways to reach your kids to be able to loop them in and keep them looped in outside of what's already been discussed and resolved? Those are the questions that need to be answered. I don't know if this lawsuit will successfully answer those. But at some point, I think Meta will be on the wrong end of this, and they'll appeal it.
Well,
1.4 trillion existential threat.
At a minimum, it's important that this is being brought to the light, and parents are really thinking this through, and maybe themselves taking some more responsibility and overseeing this. I think it's great to have the discussion. Thanks for filling in all the blanks that many of us have, as you always do, Eben Brown. We appreciate you. Look forward to the next conversation.
Take care.
All right, you too. Eben does a fabulous job here on Wake Up Missouri, pointing out all sides of the issue. Libertarians that say, hey, parents, stand up. It's your thing. Don't depend on the government or a courtroom to fix this. What do y'all think? 573-874-9390 when we head towards the Morning Market Report straight ahead.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
There's the old morning bell. How are the markets looking, Jennifer?
Well, the market's closed down. Wall Street had a rough session Tuesday with the sell-off centered on AI and semiconductor stocks. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 116 points, or 0.2%.
Ouch.
The S&P 500 dropped 0.7%, and the NASDAQ had the biggest hit. It fell 1.3%. So this was the third straight losing session for the S&P 500 after it hit an all-time high last Thursday. NVIDIA, Micron, and Broadcom were among the stocks dragging the markets lower as investors once again questioned whether some AI evaluations have gotten ahead of themselves. Now the futures, they're pointing towards a rebound for the opening bell, so that's good. Dow futures are up 0.45%, S&P up 0.3%, and NASDAQ 100 up 0.3%. When we're looking at the one thing to watch is the Federal Reserve releases its minutes from its July meeting, which could give markets more clues about where interest rates are heading. Bond yields remain elevated, with the 30-year Treasury recently trading near levels not seen since 2007. Unfortunately, gasoline prices are moving in the wrong direction again. The national average this morning is $4.09. That's up 2 cents from yesterday.
Ouch.
In Missouri, we're still substantially below the national average, but prices are climbing. We have an average of $3.84 a gallon in our state. I wonder how much our listeners are paying in the various areas of our state. And the Moderna, the business story of the morning, Moderna's cancer vaccine breakthrough.
Yeah.
This is
the first late-stage trial for melanoma, which is, that's the deadliest of the skin cancers.
Yeah. And the treatment, it's called intismeran, it's making it fascinating. Doctors analyze the mutations in an individual patient's tumor and then create an mRNA vaccine specifically designed to teach that patient's immune system to recognize and attack cancer cells. That's exciting. Do you think they could do that for other kinds of cancers too, Randy?
Yeah, there are a lot of the newer cancer treatments that are not the traditional destroy a lot of cells and hope you get more cancer cells than normal cells. Much more personalized approaches, much more immune mediated and targeted approaches. And that's what this one is about. And it's an mRNA shot. Same technology, similar technology as that dreaded COVID-19 vaccine.
Well, but melanoma late stage is no joke. And investors have taken notice of this development. Moderna's stock was up around 90% or more before today's opening bell. And that's your morning bell report.
And, the Treasury did something with buyback on long-term bonds, and that's what's apparently driving the stock market prices up as the bond yields have gone down. So a little bit of some Fed manipulation here to prop up the market. That's okay. We'll take it, right?
Well, I love hearing about cancer cures. I had a melanoma.
No.
Yeah, it was luckily in situ. So get your moles checked, people, and wear sunscreen.
Yeah.
I became a sunscreen and mole checking evangelist for a few years after that. I'd see someone in line at the store, and I'd be like, have you had that mole checked? I've calmed down and stopped doing that to people. But, yeah. I had no idea that you could die in your early 30s from a mole.
It's really important to get things checked out by all means. Hey, there's some breaking news to follow up on Caroline Leavitt's resignation.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that when
There's
we
a
come
front
back
runner
on Wake Up Missouri. Don't miss that on the other side of a few words from our sponsors. Hey, take care of those sponsors. They provide free radio for you. When you need them, give them a call. Missouri. And Jennifer, there's some breaking news.
Yes.
On the White House press room front. Tell us.
So apparently a TV star is the front runner to replace Caroline Leavitt. And you're going to like this one, Randy. Susie Wiles is apparently courting Scott Jennings, who you may know from viral clips on X and other places, owning all the panelists on CNN night after night after night. He's just able to argue with all of them, with his hands tied behind his back almost. Yeah. And he's a real talent. And apparently sources are saying it's his if he wants it, and he does. So I think he'd be fun. He's obviously experienced handling himself in a room full of Democrats. That's what he'd be doing as White House press secretary.
Apparently, she was caught at a D.C. steakhouse, Mastro's, I don't know, that's blocks away from the White House, and having dinner with Scott Jennings, huh?
Wow, yeah.
Wow.
That's an indication he's being courted for that important position. It's not a cabinet level position, but speaking on behalf of the administration, they've had such a competent person with Caroline Leavitt, which she's only 28. It's amazing to me how good of a job she does at her age. He's 48. And, yeah, we'll see.
Now, the Daily Mail is reporting, though, that Trump wants a woman to replace him, according to insiders. I mean, who knows what's true anymore, but,
But I think he defers a lot to Susie Wiles, and he trusts her instinct because things have been going so much smoother in this administration with her managing things for him. I think he would defer to her on that pick.
It gets even juicier.
Oh, boy.
They say while Jennings and Wiles were dining, according to the Daily Mail, Trump was at Bedminster Golf Club being wooed by others who wanted the job, including telegenic and tenacious former attorney Alina Habba.
Oh, yeah. He and Alina Habba she's done some speaking on his behalf, but she kind of botched some of the legal work. I thought I wasn't overly impressed with some of the things she did. And I think doesn't quite have the skills and the experience like Scott Jennings does in just being able to handle TV.
I agree.
At the caliber that he's able to handle it. So hopefully Trump will listen to Susie Wiles.
Paul has an opinion on this matter. Paul, thank you for calling Wake Up Missouri.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I would find Scott Jennings a very interesting choice. Reason is I distinctly remember back during the last campaign that Scott Jennings was asked his opinion of Donald Trump. And what is he on CNN or?
Yeah, he's on CNN.
CNN, yeah. And right there on one of the leading national news networks, cable news networks, he called Donald Trump, I'll soften the title of the term, but he did not. He called him an a-hole. And he didn't just call him that once. He tripled down on it. And you could probably still find this on YouTube if you just went to YouTube and said Scott Jennings calls Donald Trump. You could spell it out.
Yeah, maybe Trump takes that as a applause line, right? He likes that because he probably
it'd be very interesting.
Well, all you have to do is watch The Apprentice, and I think it might be true. He can be.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Just that he's going to be the face of the administration and defending.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they'll pull that out from the archives, won't they?
Yeah, but he picked J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance had said some critical things of Trump.
Who would you pick, Paul?
Yeah, I don't know. I have been thinking about it. I don't have a short list myself, but I don't. I just who I am. I tend to lean more towards professional credentials than somebody who's telegenic.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for that bit of archival history there. I didn't realize he had called Donald Trump the a-hole. I don't know. Jen, let me ask you this. So you're prominent, you're vice chair of the Republican Party here, prominent Republican leader. If you were asked to do this job in the wake of Caroline Leavitt, would you take it?
Gee, I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to do it. I don't know.
But let's say you were communications in the field. Would you take it? Those are big shoes to fill. And even
these are big shoes to fill. It would be really fun.
You'd have so much
to be in the room with it, and to be on the inside of the White Know what's happening behind the scenes, and then to be part of like what gets communicated and when, and and part of this is a very transparent administration. They really keep people up to date and give people access to the president. I think it'd be fun, but I don't think I'm going to be on anybody's short list for the job.
I think Jen would be perfect. I mean, she already knows half the players with Will Sharp and John.
I know the ones on our team. I don't know all those reporters, but I guess that doesn't matter.
You need to have someone that really has the facts at their fingertip, like Caroline Leavitt. I mean, in stark contrast to KJP, she just didn't have her facts, KJP. She would have to look in her book, and I'll have to check out, and I'll get back to you. She just looked like a babbling idiot, right? But Caroline is sharp, and she's
I'd have to do it like McEnany. I'd have a binder that I could whip to for anything. I don't have everything. I can't do when I was her age, maybe I could memorize everything. But now I'd have to refer to my notes, like Kayleigh McEnany. But I loved how she would be in, and she just like a whip to the page and just like own them. I liked her style a lot.
Does Caroline have any input into this? I'm wondering if anyone's asking her opinion.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That'd be interesting. I don't know. Well, in other troubling news, okay, we'll be following this, right? We're going to be all over this one and see how this develops. I don't know when is her resignation official? I don't know. Haven't been checking in.
I don't know either.
White House briefings. And I guess reportedly she's still going to be some kind of an advisor, I guess a remote advisor to the president, right? I think that was reported. In other news, why do we keep enabling China's assault on our supremacy in the world? As a big, broad question, right? When people take their goods and services over there and have business partnerships, I know personally from a family member who was involved in a company that does business, you have to hand them the blueprints, right? Well, they take and they use that and maybe improve it or at least duplicate it and then sell it back to the rest of the world at half the price.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a story says that the U.S. military, remember these robot dogs you've seen with the Chinese?
They're scary.
These are like China's, the company's called Unitree Robotics. They're like one of the biggest producers of humanoid robots. Apparently, this research was funded, the designs and the research for these robots was funded by the U.S. military.
By you and me and everyone at home, yep.
What the heck? This is according to a former U.S. defense tech official and 3 top researchers. So you can get a robot for $1,600. It's called a Go-2. And the Shanghai IPO can't make these things rapidly enough. This was an Army-funded project that turned into basically the first Unitree robot that had any kind of scale, said a former University of Pennsylvania researcher. Now, who's overseeing these business dealings? Is anyone in commerce?
There has been calls for reforming the patent thing so that China can't rip off our technology as easily.
To me, that's a more effective way of keeping the hammer on and some kind of shackles on China's ambitions rather than tariffs, right? It's these regulatory things. It's these, it's these kind of non-tariff trade restrictions that we could place on China. But of course,
it's not an either or though.
But Americans want cheap stuff. So if you're a businessman or woman and you're saying, hey, I can get, whatever widget or something made of a widget over in China and provide it to American consumers, cheaper American consumers want cheap stuff.
What about the whole NVIDIA thing with the high-tech, the cutting-edge high-tech chips and all that the U.S. agreed to sell to China to keep them chilled out or whatever their comment was on the Hill?
I mean, you're right. And NVIDIA claims to only be selling them second-rate chips or second-tier chips, right? Not the premier.
I believe that's correct.
But still, okay. But if a large amount of the world is using second-tier chips and we're enabling China to produce these things, that gives at least some advantage to them in a state-directed, retail or production organization.
Yeah, and it wasn't really, I don't know if second tier is the right word. I mean, NVIDIA was selling their second fastest AI
yeah.
chips to the Chinese, which was A-OK with everybody. I don't think they should sell them any of them.
Well,
and that's why they want Taiwan.
Apparently, Caroline Levitt leaves at the end of the month.
Okay.
So now we know.
So we have only have 2 weeks here less than that, 12 days for her to decide, for them to decide who the replacement. Maybe it'll be a round robin tryout. Maybe
apprentice style, huh?
Yeah, and then Trump walks in a dramatic way.
You're fired. You're fired.
Yeah, you think back over the years that some of the people, even on the other administrations, when the Dems were in power, think back to Clinton and Dee Dee Myers, and she did a really good job with all she had to deal with being a spokesman for Bill Clinton in the heyday.
That's true. That's true.
Go back further than that, with J.D. Salinger in the Kennedy era, and those kind of people.
Yep. And then there was Tony Snow, a fantastic guy, and perished well before his time, colon cancer. And forgive me for digressing, but every opportunity I can, I'm going to remind you to get your colon cancer screening, folks. Even if you just turned 45, please do it. Just do it for yourself and your family. For whatever reason, it's a more common thing these days. It's very troubling that we see these trends. Tony Snow was like, man, an ace of a reporter and a comms person. Well, hey, when we come back, we got to talk about this WNBA. I mean, this league's might get taller and hairier if people follow through. That coming back
That's
on
just
Wake Up
women.
That was John Marsh, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in just a minute.
It's Wake Up
Hey, thanks for being with us this and every morning. If you missed the show, we know you're busy. You can't catch the whole thing. You can catch highlights on the podcast every day. Drake gets that together and puts together the highlights from this program. We talked to Bob Onder, Congressman Onder, earlier about the looming midterms and the DSA and more. And, of course, Eben Brown about the Meta trial, so we'll want you to cover that. Now, Jennifer Bukowski is in for Stephanie and John and Drake. You know, this WNBA thing, because they can't decide what is a woman, some people are taking advantage of it, including Enes Kanter.
Now listen to me very carefully. So far, I have spoken with 2 former NBA players, 3 G League players, and 3 European players. They have all said that if the WNBA won't change the rules, we are ready to join the movements and we are considering coming out as women and putting our names in the 2027 WNBA draft. Hear me out. The NBA G League pays players $45,000 a year, while the WNBA top players earn $1.4 million. Those men could earn an extra $1,355,000 a year by just identifying as women. Rules are rules.
What do you think?
I love this loophole that they've discovered. Like, this is where it was inevitably going, but I love how they're banding together, like protecting women's sports by like, okay, pick me. I'm in. Let's go.
And apparently the leadership, the governance structure of the WNBA can't decide to put down the hammer and say we're a biological women's league.
No, they're just saying that they aren't really in good faith claiming to be women, so they're not allowed. So
right.
where are you threading that needle?
Corner.
Yeah. Because there apparently is some European trans woman, man, that is interested in joining up. And there's a concern that this will actually happen.
Legitimately. Not just a little spoof here.
Yeah, so it's so funny, though. Like, there's the other guy, he's running for Senate. I don't know if he's a serious candidate, but he's got a wig on. He's like, I just want to ball with my girls. And why are you hating on black women?
What leftovers on your plate, Jennifer?
Well, this is right up John Marsh's alley. The sick-way smuggler snuck vipers, caimans, and a crocodile over the U.S.-Mexico border. This lady, a pair, has been arrested for illegal smuggling of these sometimes protected animals. She got stopped at the border. She had a warrant out. So they seized her car. When they went to inspect the car, they noticed pillowcases, some of which were moving in the vehicle. Further inspection revealed pit vipers, which are, venomous, and all these over 60 other reptiles, baby crocodiles and lizards, all in this vehicle. They got transferred to the zoo. She got busted because I didn't know they had undercover exotic animal buyers in the feds, but apparently that's how they got caught. They bought some of these turtles that were protected species from her and then took those to the Bronx Zoo for treatment. And then I guess that's what led to her arrest warrant for illegal trafficking of these critters. I don't think I'd want to be in a car with like pit vipers and like over 60 other reptiles and alligator. What if you get in a car wreck? These things are in pillowcases. That could be a recipe for disaster. No, thank you.
I don't know. Wow.
Gross.
Crazy.
I remember having caimans as pets back in the day. I don't know where I got them. Was it Sears or Woolworth? Maybe
was
Woolworth.
It from some lady out of Mexico?
No. They were sold. They were sold in pet shops in the past.
I had a friend as a kid who brought one baby alligator back from Florida.
Yeah.
Really?
Had
His
it
parents
for
must
a while.
Been cooler than mine. I don't think I could have sold my parents on that one.
I guess Sears had mail order catalogs, but I don't know where I got that. So Drake, do you ever keep caimans?
No, I have not. I've kept many lizards in my day, but not caimans.
Can you imagine you're an officer making a stop, and you lift up the compartment in the back of a car, and they had these reptiles in pillowcases.
Yeah, and they're moving.
And all of a sudden, the pillowcase is writhing and moving. It's like, what the heck's there? Oh, my gosh.
And I'd be like, no, thank you. I don't get paid enough to open that pillowcase.
Where does the time go? It's already time to close out.
Personal support snakes.
Yeah,
oh, boy.
There you go.
Be quiet with that idea. They might do it.
Thanks for being with us this day. We hope to see you tomorrow. We'll be talking with Colonel Bucci to see if there's anything going on in Iran. Probably ought to talk about those South Korean exercises, too.
Bye.